Pick up a Mexican coin and look for a small letter M, crowned by a tiny circle. It is easy to miss, yet that mark carries almost 5 centuries of history. It identifies Casa de Moneda de Mexico, the Mexican Mint. Founded in 1535, it was the first mint established under Spanish rule in the Americas. Its story begins before Mexico was a nation, before the peso, and before the modern idea of a central bank. But it does not begin before money. Long before Europeans arrived, Mesoamerica supported cities, markets, tribute systems, long-distance trade, and specialized labor. Exchange could involve cacao beans, cotton mantles, jade beads, copper objects, and other goods with recognized value. These were not universal coins. Their purpose changed by place and circumstance, but they could measure value and facilitate exchange. The people of Mesoamerica did not need Europeans to teach them commerce. What arrived after the conquest was a different monetary order, backed by a distant crown and tied to colonial taxation, mining, and imperial law. In the first years of New Spain, Spanish coins were scarce. Merchants could use uncoined pieces of precious metal or make payments through goods and complicated systems of account. For royal authorities, this was more than an inconvenience. Metal that had not passed through official controls was harder to tax, harder to standardize, and harder to police. The crown wanted a coin it could recognize, measure, and trust. On May 11th, 1535, a royal charter issued in Madrid ordered the creation of a mint in Mexico. The task fell to Antonio de Mendoza, the first viceroy of New Spain. The charter did not merely authorize a workshop, it described an institution. It specified the kinds of money that could be made, it defined designs, fees, records, officers, and legal jurisdiction. It addressed where the mint might stand and how it could be built. It demanded supervision, and it required the metal brought for coinage to bear evidence that the crown's tax, known as the royal fifth, had been paid. The mint was designed as a factory, a tax checkpoint, a court, a secure warehouse, and an image-making center. The first authorized coinage included silver and low-value base metal pieces, but not gold. The silver denominations ranged from 4 reals down to half a real. Copper coins were attempted, though official histories record that local users resisted them. The first silver pieces are now known as the Charles and Joanna series, for the monarchs named in their legends. Their designs carried royal arms and the pillars of Hercules. The 3 real denomination was unusual and short-lived. The rejected copper coins reveal an important limit. A government could declare a coin lawful, but it could not guarantee that people would find it convenient or accept it in every market. Users judged money through habit, availability, purchasing power, and the willingness of the next person to take it. That tension between legal authority and public acceptance would follow the mint throughout its history. The charter also ordered a mark identifying Mexico as the place of manufacture. That instruction began the history of one of the world's longest-lived mint identities. Legal foundation came in 1535. Production probably began in 1536. At first, the mint operated near the old houses associated with Moctezuma, on land then controlled by Herman Cortez, close to the site now occupied by the Nacional Monte de Piedad. Early work also became associated with spaces beside the viceregal palace. Over time, the mint would inhabit several buildings in the historic center, leaving its name on one of Mexico City's oldest streets, Moneda. Inside, the first coins were made by hand. The process began before a hammer struck metal. Silver entered a chain of custody. Officials checked its marks and records. It was weighed, melted, and alloyed. A sample was tested by an assayer to determine its fineness. The metal was formed into strips or pieces from which blanks could be prepared. Each blank had to approach a legal weight. Then came the strike. A worker placed a blank between two engraved dies. One die rested below. The other was held above. A hammer blow forced the designs into the metal. The result was not always perfectly round. The design might be off center. Part of a legend might be missing. None of this automatically made the coin false. Its credibility rested on other evidence: its weight, its silver content, its official designs, the assayer's responsibility, and the mint mark. A coin was a compact record of accountability. The mint's officers divided that accountability among them. A treasurer managed the institution and its relationships with people bringing metal. An assayer tested fineness. A weigher guarded legal weight. An engraver cut the dies. A scribe maintained records. Judicial and security officers enforced rules. Guards watched people, doors, tools, and metal. Around them worked furnace operators, moneyers, blacksmiths, carpenters, laborers, and apprentices. Royal documents could define offices, but only skilled hands could turn silver into money. Those hands worked within a complicated institution. In the 16th and 17th centuries, important mint offices could function as valuable private possessions. They might be acquired, inherited, leased, or transferred under systems recognized by the crown. An office brought fees and status, but it could also bring access to merchants, workers, and privileged information. The treasurer was especially powerful. The office connected people who owned silver with the workers and officials who transformed it. Research into Mexico's merchant treasurers shows that some also participated in major urban corporations and commercial networks. They stood at the point where private capital met royal authority. That did not mean the mint was beyond control. It meant control was constantly contested. The viceroy claimed authority. The royal audiencia had judicial power. Formal inspections, called visitas, investigated conduct. The Mexico City Council sought a recurring role through monthly deputies who could inspect the mint. Internal officers watched one another. In theory, overlapping supervision protected the coin. In practice, it could produce rivalry, obstruction, or collusion. Historian Ana Consuelo Rojas Cruz has reconstructed disputes over supervision and allegations of abuses in the mint between 1536 and 1606. Her research describes officials, merchants, and workers operating through networks that did not always respect the boundaries imagined in royal law. Some actors allegedly cooperated to evade taxes or circumvent coinage regulations. The documentary record, therefore, reveals a paradox. The mint existed to create certainty, yet inside its walls, authority was fragmented, interests overlapped, and suspicion was routine. Every stage answered that suspicion with another control. Metal was marked because owners might conceal its origin. It was assayed because its fineness could not be judged by appearance. It was weighed because a coin could be too heavy or too light. Dies were guarded because an unauthorized die could give false metal the appearance of royal money. Records were duplicated because memory was not enough. Workers could be searched because fragments of silver were small enough to hide. Even the waste had value. Ash, floor sweepings, Crucibles and scraps might contain traces of precious metal. Recovering it required more labor and created more opportunities for theft. A secure mint could not treat dust as ordinary dust. Information moved in the opposite direction from the metal. The assayer produced a judgment. The weigher produced a measurement. The scribe turned movements and payments into records. The coin compressed those separate acts into one circulating object. Most users would never enter the mint or meet its officers. They judged the institution through the object it released. Trust was not a feeling, it was a manufacturing process. And that process created an object capable of traveling far beyond the jurisdiction that made it. Silver from New Spain entered Atlantic commerce toward Europe and the Americas. It also moved west. From Acapulco, ships crossed the Pacific to Manila, where American silver connected with Asian trade. The coin most associated with this global movement was the 8 real piece, later widely known as the Spanish dollar or piece of 8. Its success did not depend on everyone accepting the king whose name appeared on it. A merchant thousands of miles from Mexico might not share the crown's language, religion, or law. What mattered was whether the coin contained the expected silver and whether other people would accept it in turn. The Mexico mint mark became part of that calculation. Surviving coins show how trust traveled through different systems. In China, money handlers sometimes punched small marks into foreign silver after testing or accepting it. Today, these are called chop marks. A chop marked Mexican coin carries two histories at once: the guarantee claimed by the mint that made it, and the local verification added by people far outside Mexico. By the 18th century, the 8 real coin was used across the Americas, Europe, Asia, and parts of Africa. The Smithsonian describes it as the world's first global currency. In British North America, Spanish dollars circulated because locally made coin was limited. People cut some pieces into fractions for small change. The future United States based its dollar partly on this familiar monetary world. Spanish and Mexican silver remained legal tender there until 1857. The reach of the coin was extraordinary, but it was not a neutral triumph of commerce. Each piece began with mined metal. Silver extraction depended on land, water, mercury, capital, animal power, transport, and human labor. The colonial economy distributed the burdens and profits unequally. Taxes flowed to the crown. Merchants financed movement. Workers faced danger underground and inside the mint. Indigenous communities lived within systems of tribute and coerced obligation even as wage labor and markets expanded. The global coin was also a product of colonial extraction. It also entered a complex local economy. Large silver pieces served wholesale and international commerce, while many communities struggled to obtain small change. Cacao, tokens, informal credit, and other substitutes could circulate alongside royal money. Monetary history was not a clean replacement of one system by another. Different forms of value overlapped for generations. Gold coinage began at the Mexico Mint in 1679, expanding its work and its security burden. Yet silver remained the metal that carried the mint's reputation around the world. For almost 2 centuries, Casa de Moneda de Mexico made its money mainly with hammers, furnaces, scales, and hand-cut dies. Its coins could be irregular in shape, yet dependable enough to cross oceans. Then, the crown demanded something new. It wanted direct control over the metal. It wanted faster production. It wanted perfectly round coins with protected edges. It wanted machines to impose order on both silver and people. In 1732, the mint entered its industrial revolution, and the workers inside it pushed back.